Another thing, a little technology. The other thing, I remember a number of years ago, what we started was our triad program. This year, we finally accomplished where we have triads throughout the county of Will. And just briefly, that's a program that you really started. We have a director of senior services now, Barry Benazzi, doing it. But it's really a program that's taken off in some areas tremendously. Tremendously.
The triad programs we were trying to set up around certain areas of the county, involve local police departments in that area to help us service with the senior citizens. It did take a while because the county is so large. We did complete the last triad program. Now we have the entire county covered with us and local police departments, whether it be the Fire for Life service we have for them, the Yellow Dot, or the 911 cell phones that we give them.
Plus, I think they have a driving program or something, too, for the elderly.
They have a driving program he puts on to make sure that they can pass their driver's license test and stay up on any new current laws. The program has really taken off. We've also, in this department, assigned a detective whose sole purpose is to address senior citizen issues and crime and abuse, and it's been highly effective with one notable case that was in Frankfurt not too long ago. So the program is very worthwhile. It's not a feel-good program like a lot of them that are out there.
Right. This is one that's really is down and dirty, if one might speak. I mean, it actually works on results. It's not something out there saying, hey, this is nice and fuzzy.
Well, you have a dedicated guy that runs it,
right,
Barry, and he does a very good job. And he also has us at the fairs, the senior citizen fairs that go on, and he brings in medical personnel, and he brings all this educational stuff.
I know we've been at a lot of places, and the first thing we do is get a lot of the elderly coming up and asking you about certain things that are going on, legislation and everything else. So it's really a great program that gets things around.
I mean, it has been, yes.
One of the interesting things that happened too this year which is nothing unusual, is somebody notifies a newspaper about how bad maybe something might be in perception. And this was response times back in the early spring, if you remember. An article was in the Daily Southtown on the eastern end of Will County. And it was one of those things, I remember when it first came up, we asked, geez, where do we fit into all this? Because we're talking about response times. It was really, really interesting is when we started doing the study, I found an article that it was out of Atlanta that had published, just at that time, had published all these response times. And I remember bringing it to you and says, is this right? Are you sure these facts are right? And what it really came out to was we took a 4-month period of time for the sheriff's office, which is pretty much indicative of a year. I think that was December through April. We had 238 priority 1 calls, which, for those out there, those are calls that really need immediate service. Armed robberies, domestic batteries that are happening, criminal sexual assaults and stuff like that. Out of that, we discovered through our computer-aided dispatch system that we had a 7.98 minute response time, which I remember when we talked was, well, is that good?
Yeah, right.
We didn't know, hey, is it good or not? Atlanta Journal had just published a report in their newspaper, and that was also on the end of, I believe, March of '09. The city of Atlanta, which has got 132 square miles, has got about twice the amount of policemen we had an 11.12 minute response time. El Paso, which is a pretty good-sized city itself, 251 square miles, it had 11-minute response time. Maricopa County, Arizona. Joe, very popular sheriff down there and has been there for years and years. They have a 16-minute response time, and that was for what that newspaper said life-threatening calls. LAPD runs about 11 minutes. And here we come out with the sheriff's office, and we got 843 square miles, and we had a 7.98 response time on 911 calls, and I think we were around 11 minutes on an average call for property crimes. I mean, Sheriff, that's a credit to these guys. They're really doing a job that's way beyond what the national norm is.
Well, I remember when you first brought it up because we were uncertain of what the times were. As you know, in the last 5-6 years, we have tried several things with the patrol division. We rearranged zones, then we put zones according to calls. Before it was geographics. We went to problem solving. So we were looking for ways in order to improve the patrol division. So we were unsure what the calls were. I think it comes down to this. As long as you're trying to improve something, at least making changes, that should count. If you just sit there and don't do nothing, then nothing gets done. So we were kind of surprised at the response time, especially when they're saying that our zones are too large, but we're in the unincorporated areas, and sometimes we have to go through incorporated areas to get to these calls.
Which kind of goes along with what we're seeing in some of these huge cities, that the LAs, the Atlantas, that are really large metropolitan police departments with a lot more people on the street, and yet their response times are far exceeding what we have.
Right.
So it's really a credit to these people that are out there that are doing the job.
Yes, it is. I mean, I was, like everybody else, we were kind of surprised at the times. So something accidentally happened well. Yeah,
and just the last thing, really one of the other things was we just got into stats, but our crime rate. Again, it went down. This is the third year in a row that we were tracked from 2006, 2007, 2008, and it's gone down every year, which is a credit, again, to I'm not so sure how much law enforcement has to do with this stuff. But the village of Homer Glen, which we contract for, has also had the same reduction.
I've had numerous conversations with Mayor Daley out there in reference to that. That's Mayor Jim Daley. Reference to the crime stats in Homer Glen. And, when the people out there keep telling him, look, we want our own PD, we want our own PD, and he now tells me, he says, well, I just hand him this, and we're only paying this. Where do you want to go? So that pretty much settles the argument. Yes, I would like to sit here and take credit for the reduction in crime.
Yeah, so would I. But
and then tomorrow there'd be something that happened that would put something all over our face.
The one thing we can say is that on a national level, crime has decreased, and so has ours. There are communities within the county that they haven't.
They have not decreased.
And so it's really a credit for all the complaining that we hear sometimes from citizens and from our own people.
And it's not because the unincorporated area that we patrol is becoming smaller.
No.
I mean, it isn't.
No.
It isn't. The population has risen. So to make the argument, well, your crime stats going down because you're losing area. The only area we had before that's been incorporated when this last big boom was cornfield.
Yeah, you know what? And I think in the years ahead that's probably, I don't see the unincorporated areas decreasing too much at all. I don't see municipalities trying to suck up anything more than what they have. They can't take care of what they have.
Yeah.
So, it's really...
not in today's economy for quite some time.
No, and it's going to be a challenge for the department in the next coming years to really be able to provide these services for... And I think, there's going to be... I know you've had talks with other people, so combining some services and trying to work with other places to make this thing work for everybody.
We're trying to maintain the high level of service and protection that we've had in the past. Today's economic times is going to dictate what we can do. We're trying to still perform at that level, and hopefully we can. As usual, the staff say I don't smile enough during these productions, so I thought I'd change it this time. What, I ain't smiling enough? Seriously, I'd like to give you a Christmas greetings from my family and the Will County Sheriff's Department, and have a happy holiday.